Everything that we do, we create.
Hey family, hey friends.
What's up, guys?
We're back again. We couldn't leave you all alone. How you
Nope.
doing, Darius?
I
Cuz
am I am doing phenomenal.
oh,
How are you?
I'm excited.
You excited? That
I'm
makes two of
excited.
us.
Yeah. I was thinking the other day, this is such an exciting time to be alive,
Yes, I
you
agree.
know? And I could think, oh, this is chaotic, this is crappy, this doesn't make sense. I could go into that whole negative vein
Mm-hmm.
about all of the debris that's out there. But
Yes.
it's like, no, this is really exciting because you see all this stuff tumbling around. You see all of the lies and all of the deception that's
Mm-hmm.
out there. But I kind of think of it like cleaning out my closet,
Mm.
right? I get rid of the old,
Mm-hmm.
and that gives me some space in my closet for some new stuff.
Make room for some new stuff.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
and I do the same thing with my head.
Yeah. And
It's
that's
like
what we
Zen.
need to do.
Yeah, it's like Zen cleaning.
Mm.
You just clean away all the cobwebs. If you notice, when your house is neat and in order, right?
Mm-hmm.
There isn't a whole bunch of clutter. Well, for me, I feel better.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, you feel better. Like you just feel like you have more energy. You feel like revived. You feel like you just like and you can breathe and there's less stress on you. And I try to get the kids to understand that. I try to get DJ, look, dude, keep your room clean, keep your bathroom clean. It
Yeah,
just
yeah,
makes you feel better when you walk in and it smells good and it looks nice and everything's where it's supposed to be. I
yeah,
agree. I agree. We
yeah,
got to get rid
yeah.
of all that clutter. Every now and then you have to get rid of all that stuff. And
Especially the
sometimes,
clutter in your head.
yes, and sometimes you just need to move things around.
Oh, like the furniture in your head.
Yeah, just move that stuff around. Look, you never know what you might find in those cushions anyway, in that couch or something.
Well, yeah, goodies. Sometimes you find goodies,
Yeah,
and then sometimes you just find a bunch of mothballs that need to get tossed.
that you just need
But
to get
it's
rid
up
of.
to you to figure out what you keep. But the goal is for you to feel a sense of internal freedom.
Mm, I like it. So today, let's talk about digging up some of that old stuff and how that
Okay.
stuff is affecting us, right? Like, how is that old stuff? How is that old thinking, right? How is that old concept that we have, that old perspective, or just the perspective that we have? How is it actually affecting us? And here's the other question: why is it that it is what it is?
Eh,
Why?
sometimes yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a
Why?
good. Yeah, yeah.
Let's talk about that,
Well, we talked a little bit about it our first episode,
right?
and I'm going to tell you something, Darius. I'm stuck. I'm stuck on that first episode
Okay, explain.
because after we did it, it kept growing and growing and growing into other areas, and I said, "This is big."
It is.
So
It
we,
is.
yeah, so I hope that you continue to watch us because we're not going to dump the whole 9 yards on you at one time. We're going to be giving you little pieces.
Like a
So that,
puzzle.
yeah, because we want to provoke thought
Hmm.
and we want you to start seeking your own truth.
Exactly. So
which
welcome to
goes back.
PTSD.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And so what when I say that I stuck on last week, let me share with you, and maybe you can go there with me. If not, you can just flip the script. But
Let's go.
we talked about self-esteem versus self-concept.
Mm-hmm.
Remember?
Yep.
And we shared with you that the whole idea of self-concept is an idea, a mental image, or a thought of who we think we are, depending on what we've learned, not only from our past experiences, but what we've been taught,
Mm.
what has been modeled to us. In other words, you know that whole adage that children live what they learn.
What they see and
Exactly. And we just, our subconscious is that bundle of nerves in our solar plexus is like a little sponge, and it just takes in everything.
yep. Yep.
Okay.
All right. So that's our that's self-concept. So I want
Mhm.
all of you to understand that this is your self-concept. So keep that in mind as Denise goes on.
Oh, okay. You're gonna let me go on. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I just want everybody to understand that we're talking self-concept. That was, self-concept. So because I know you
Okay.
got something else you want to share with them. So
Okay. All right. So we've been. It's a conditioned way of thinking. It goes
mhm.
on and on and on. And I think last time we may have given an example. We'll give another example or other examples, just that so that you get it. We're just not talking.
Right.
Okay. So the other way of seeing oneself is through the eyes of self-esteem,
Mm.
which is your true, authentic self. It's the real deal, right?
Right. That's
Okay.
you.
Yeah, and it's unconditioned.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And it's like a positive sense of self,
Mm-hmm.
unconditional positive regard. All right. And a feeling of well-being. And it's at the core of every single person.
The core.
Voila, the core.
Yeah.
In other words, it's inborn,
Mm-hmm.
it's innate. You pop
Mm-hmm.
out with it, or it is developing when you're in the womb.
Right.
Okay. And it we forget about it. It's directly accessible, um, regardless of a person's present level of functioning.
Mm. Say that
Okay.
part again. Say
All
that
right.
part again. For the people in the back, say that part again.
It is accessible regardless of your present level of functioning,
Mm. You
right?
see, that let me just add this right here, Denise, because that is so powerful because people find themselves so often, too often, in a situation where they don't believe that they're in a place where they can move forward, right? And just understanding that your self-esteem and really knowing what that is, right? Understanding the definition basically that you just gave everybody for self-esteem, understanding that you have access to who you really are at any level that you're functioning, at any level that you are operating, whatever vibration you're on, whatever energy level that you have right now, you still have access to that self-esteem. It's still there.
Yeah, that's the part of you that's phenomenal.
It's exactly. Exactly. So I mean, I just want everybody, I want you guys to understand that you still have access to that. And I think that if we understood that more, if somebody just helped reinforce that, it helps with this us going into these depressed modes. It
Mhm.
helps with us feeling that we're feeling like we're worthless and feeling like we can't accomplish anything. If you know, regardless of where you are, whatever happened to you, you still have access. You still have access to this.
Exactly, exactly. But why do we think that we don't have access to?
Mm. Now that's going to get us into really digging up some old stuff and, and and some untruths that we have been taught. First, yeah,
Exactly.
let me say it this way. First, I don't think we're ever told that we have access to it from the beginning. Nobody's telling us. Who's telling us that we have access to this, regardless of what happens in your life? You still have access to who you genuinely, authentically are. Nobody,
Yeah. But
really.
the thing is, there are signs that come up for us, right?
There are.
Because one of the things that suppresses that true or authentic self is all of the debris that's been piled upon it.
Yep.
All of the debris, all of the ideas and images,
Mm-hmm.
mental pictures and thoughts about who we think we are. And so last episode, it was who you be is
Right.
not who you really be.
Right.
So think about that. We can't tell you who you be because the key is for you to find out who you be on your own. And that way you can own it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Can I just give a quote and then we can go on?
Of course.
All right.
Please do.
We talked about, my moniker is the truth seeker, and my goal is to help you to remember. I'm going to remind you that there's a part of you that, due to the cultural values and the way the system is set up, has not allowed you to really live and be that individual.
Right.
Okay. So when you don't know who you are, you allow everyone to tell you who you should be.
Say it again. Say it again. One more time.
When you don't know who you are, you allow everyone to tell you who you should be.
So now that
Right?
ties into that whole idea of self-concept. So now our self-concept is being created based on these outside influences that we're allowing in to put us in a situation to determine who we are. It's by the
Yep.
outside influences, not self-esteem, not true self-esteem, where that is coming from within. That's what we're born with, and we have that in us from birth. But
Mm-hmm.
we're operating, most people, a lot of people are operating off of self-concept. So, which it gets even, you know, even a little more chaotic with the whole advent of this technology called the internet and social media, and we're looking at what we most people think is somebody's real life, and we're comparing who we are to who they are, and we're trying to say we want to be like, I want to be like them, I want that life, I want this, I want that, and we're creating this self-concept because we truly don't know who we are and embracing who we are and embracing that self-esteem. So now we're creating this self-concept of this is who I am or who I want to be, or even better, who I want you to think I am.
Oh yeah.
Because who
Yeah.
you
So that
think I
I'll
am is
fit in.
important.
Yeah. So I'll fit in.
Right. Right. So
And you'll me, and then I'll have self-esteem.
see, that's the other thing. We think that the self-esteem is coming from the outside.
Yeah, the self-esteem is the cars, it's the house, it's the jewelry. And
Oh
we're not,
yeah.
you sparkle inside of you.
And at the end of the day, that stuff doesn't make you who you are.
But we've
What
been
it
taught to believe that.
so exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, that's a stinky word, taught. Let
Talk.
me let me tell you. So dabbling around, I said, and in my head, in here, I've always known it, being in education for 40 some odd years, right?
Mhm.
I was watching Professor Small last night on YouTube,
Okay.
right? And he confirmed a lot of the stuff that we talk about, Darius, and reinforced this whole idea of self-concept versus self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, what is the meaning of the word educate? Right?
Right.
And I thought, oh, Professor Small, where are you going with this? And he said, check it out. He said, the real meaning of the word to educate is to bring something already inside of you out.
Right.
All right. But according to Western tradition, and remember now, when you see and read stuff, always expect for it to be reversed, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. The Western tradition's definition of to educate is putting something from the outside into you. Right. So
Let's call that programming.
well, and not allowing people to think, or not even giving us the impression that there is such a thing as thinking, because
Right.
I'm going to tell you what to think, right? So this is something that one of my students gave me years ago after she had finished her dissertation. I was chair, and it's an engraved marble stone. The function of education, you're gonna love this, is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
We're not taught those things. We're
No,
not
we're not. But there's
we're
something
not
inside.
encouraged. We're not encouraged that way, unfortunately, in our education system.
But see, that's all about the experience. That's not what we experience.
True. Right.
In this culture.
Right.
So how do we know that it exists? An alternate way exists. That little rumble in your tummy says, oh no, that doesn't make sense to me. Well, right. And then going back to being curious and figuring out what it is. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Exactly. I'm talking too much.
No. What I was gonna say is because of how we're educated, right? Since we understand now, we have a better understanding of what education really means, or to educate really means, is that when you're educating, or you're sharing something with someone to educate them, it should spark something that's already inside of them. And as opposed to, we're just going to dump all this information on you, And what I want you to do is memorize and regurgitate. That's what the education system is set up to do. Memorize and regurgitate. So I'm gonna dump
That
all this,
which I say is a reality.
that which I am telling you is truth and reality.
Yeah, the person that holds a pen controls the population.
Yep. So let's think about this, right? When we're in school, we have this lesson that we are taught that is given to us, and at the end of it, so we're given all this information, and then at the end we have to regurgitate it in the form of taking a test.
Oh yeah, we teach to the test, but who determines what the test is supposed to measure?
Ah, that's who's in control of how we're being educated.
Well, I
Or
found out
what
that the dominant culture does that because every once in a
exactly.
while there's a shift in the entire curriculum. It's like, oh, when Neil Armstrong was taken off into space, the shift in the focus was on science.
Right.
When are we ever going to shift to knowing who we be?
That will shift everything though. If see, what we're doing here is trying to get people to kind of wake up and understand and truly think for themselves and pay attention to what's happening within them. If that happens, our greatness starts to show up. If that
Right. And
happens,
it's that time. It's that time.
it is.
That's why I'm excited.
but we should really be excited, but we also have to be aware of a lot of people will be a lot of you are going to be a little scared because it's something new. It's different. And you know that you feel this way inside. All we want to do, all Dr. Nadise and I want to do for you is let you know that that's what you should be paying attention to. Be intentional about having that time to really understand why you are getting those, what they call butterflies in your stomach, why your solar plexus is really feeding you all of this information, these signals for you to start paying attention to who you are and what lights you up.
Yeah, why you're acting out, why your kids are acting out.
Why? Exactly. They don't know who they are. That goes back to you don't know who you are and you're not paying attention to what's there. So if I am, all right, so this is one of the things that always interests me, right? That made me think a little bit growing up. If I liked, let's say, playing the banjo, right? Let's just be really extreme. If I liked playing the banjo, I grew up in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area and a Black community that was middle class. Parents did good. The people in my neighborhood, parents were doing okay. But if I said I like to play the banjo, you know what my friends would have told me? They would have laughed. They would have told me that that's crazy. Who does that?
So go to the hills.
Right. We don't do that. We don't do that around here, right? And so what that would have done for me is that would have created the idea and the concept, the thought that I can't be my authentic self. So now I'm going to hide that, whatever it is, playing the banjo or science or whatever it is. If it didn't match what was popular in the culture at the time, I'm not being encouraged to really be who I am authentically. So I create this thought. In my head that I can't be who I am because now everybody outside of me is going to see me as weird, as strange, and I'm not going to be comfortable in their presence. So this is what happens to us on a daily basis, especially as young kids. We have something inside of us that is telling us and sharing with us, this is something that you were gifted with. But because it may not be popular, we bury it. So we go back to what we were talking about when we first started the show, right? So now we got all this debris that we're putting on top of it. And we're trying to put ourselves in a situation where we can be liked and accepted and heard, but that requires us to do something that is not genuine to who we are. And now we talk about these people who are depressed and people who are stressed and people who are having all of these mental episodes where the what's really happening is nobody is allowing us the and giving us the space to be ourselves and understand that it's okay if we like and we do something different, because we need people to do something different. We don't need carbon copies of the same person.
Well, then what it does is it makes the universe real tiny.
Very tiny. And that's not what it is.
No, it's infinite. But as you were at the end of your comments there about not really being allowed or not being able to be who our true authentic self for fear of condemnation and not being accepted and whatnot.
Right.
Think about this, because this is crossing over into this gender role stuff, right?
Mm.
Real men don't cry.
Oof. Mm.
All right. And then in the was it Tom Hanks was in this movie? There's no crying in baseball. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
those are the messages that we get. And we just take them in and think they're real.
Well, they're reinforced though. That's the bad part. They're constantly reinforced. Here's my thinking. If men were not designed to cry, why do we have tear ducts? Why do we have the capability of crying if we were not designed to cry? So all of these things that we're taught go against how we were created and how we're designed. So it always made me wonder, like, why are they saying that? And in the beginning, and as a child, as a young man, coming as a man, as a young boy growing up, I heard that all the time. Men don't cry. You need to control that. We don't do that. Be tough, be strong, be a man, right? And we're taught that that's what a man is. But nobody explained to me, well, why am I able to do this? Why do I feel this way then? Why, when certain things happen inside of me, I have these emotions that want to evoke me to cry? Why is that? So what we're told, instead of that being explained, because really there is no explanation for it, what we're told is just man up. It is what it is. You don't do that. Nobody explains that stuff to us.
Yeah, crying is a sign of weakness.
It's a sign of weakness.
So you guys don't have tear ducts.
I would think you would think we didn't. So then men cry in the dark. Men cry in the dark.
Or they go and do something that's self-destructive.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because it's got to come out. It's got to come out some kind of way. It just kind of builds up inside of you like a pressure cooker.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, the lid flies off.
Yes.
And you've kicked the dog.
Exactly.
Dog didn't deserve to be kicked. You need to go cry. So,
you need, yeah. And go ahead.
Now, I was going to say, though, that it's refreshing to see in some instances, and I've seen this, I've seen men have gatherings and brotherhoods and whatnot, and go on camping trips and howl at the moon.
Yeah.
They have to really become uninhibited, but drumming, and that kind of stuff, which is a release.
It is. And we gotta become more self-aware
Mm,
of what's actually happening within us, and not so much trying to conform to what's outside of us. We're we're
yeah.
we're more we're more pushed in the way of conforming, as opposed to discovering who we are.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't worry about
Absolutely.
who you are. Who you
Yeah.
are doesn't matter. You got to conform to how we're doing things, and how the popular society has says, and the dominant society says you should act. And we're told all these things that we should be, and we're never given the tools to be who we are. Rarely given the tools to be who we really are. So that's why we're here. We want to help give some of those tools.
Yeah. Yeah. We wanna remind you,
Yep.
gently remind you. So, but in the meantime, we could talk about the 5 Ds of difference. I think I said that last time.
Mm-hmm.
And about the mandala.
Let's talk about the mandala.
All right. All right. So what's a mandala? We might even show you a picture of a beautiful mandala.
Yes.
All right. But I was thinking about all of humanity. And
Mm.
this was my download, right? I thought of a mandala, and what a mandala is a geometric figure, okay, that represents the universe finding a balance in all elements,
Mm.
right? And the key here is the word balance,
Mm-hmm.
all right? Other elements are as important, like peace and harmony, happiness, and wealth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at this mandala with all of these tiny little facets and all of these beautiful colors,
Mm-hmm.
right? And all of these little, maybe little dots and so on and so forth, right? So the mandala represents all of humanity. Each one of those dots represents an individual,
Okay.
all right, within humanity. All right. They're all different. Some of them have different colors, some of them have different shapes, some of them have different designs, right? So that's there for a reason. It serves a purpose, right? Imagine the great source holding hands over that mandala and breathing the breath of life into it,
Mm.
breathing its essence into it, and giving us all life, but giving us all a part. So we all get a part of the source.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Because, but we may not all get the same element or the
Right.
same part of the source. It's like, you may be over here on the mandala and you're blue,
Mm-hmm.
color blue. I might be green on the
Right.
mandala and I'm over here, right? Which means that there's a difference,
Yes.
all right? The source has to manifest something that represents its infinite wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I am not the same as you.
No.
All right. There is a difference. Okay. And the difference between you and I is not 1 degree, but it is a difference, which is 1 degree. So it's not like you're 98.6 and I'm 98.7. It doesn't work like that.
Right. Right.
There could be 5 degrees of difference between us, or 10 degrees of difference between us. And that's what makes us different, but it also means that we carry a different perspective.
Which is all right.
Exactly. All right. But in this Western culture, one of the greatest sources of conflict between people, between groups, between tribes, is a difference in perspective.
Yes.
People go to war, they kill each other. Yes. They stomp each other out. So I'm wondering if we could see the individual facets and individuals within the context of this mandala as individuals in search of their completeness and self-unity.
Yeah.
In other words,
I was gonna say, so when you break it down like that, when we look at like the mandala and we see all the different components of it, it's you have to play your part in order for all of us as a whole to move in unison.
Collective consciousness.
Exactly. So it's kind of like a car, right? Let's look at it. Let's give it something people are familiar with, right? So when you have a car under the hood on a regular gas engine car, under the hood you have all of these different components. The car would never move or never do what it's designed to do if every part was a carburetor.
Sure would.
Right?
I never thought of it like that, but yeah.
It would never move.
Yeah, it would just sit, go put, 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 put.
It wouldn't even do that. If it was just all carburetors under the hood, the car would never do anything. So we need to have the carburetor and the engine and the spark plugs and the water heater, and we need to have all of these components, the radiator. We need to have all of these pieces which are different and serve a different purpose, working together in order for the car to do and operate the way it was designed. It's the same thing with us. We all can't be the same part. We all can't play the same part. We need all of our individual skills. This is why I believe that the universe gave each of you a different gift. Because when you share your gift with the world, that may spark someone else to step up and start sharing their gift, but it may also be what that other person needs for their gift, and then you share that with someone else. So as we share our gift, we're helping to encourage others to do that, but not pushing them that this is what you should be doing. You should be doing what it is that you were gifted to do. And so with that mandala idea, when you were talking about that, I love that, because if I'm the blue piece, you're the green piece, we need both of those to complete the spectrum. We need both of those independent of one another, but work in unison with one another.
Exactly.
So we got to get out of that self-concept idea that we should all be alike. And that different, here's Western society too. Here's what teaching from Western society that I've picked up. Different is dangerous. they teach us different is dangerous. And everything we do in life, I like sci-fi movies, right? In a
Mhm.
sci-fi movie, every time if there's any type of, let's say, alien in the movie, it is always the government, it is always the military that says we must destroy it because it's different. Not try to understand it really, not try to figure out how this can help, whatever. But I'm just using that as an example, but it's always put out there. And this is how we're taught, right? These are how concepts that we start to take in and absorb are used within, we use within ourselves and how we move forward and navigate our own life. We're taught that different is dangerous. If that person is not like you, that person needs to be done away with. If that person doesn't look like you, if that person doesn't talk like you, if that person doesn't, have is not the same size as you or any of those things, then you have to show your dominance. And that's what Western civilization, Western culture teaches us as well. That's one of the concepts that we learn is that different is dangerous.
And that's a fear-based concept,
Oh yeah,
Gary.
there's no love in that.
No, there isn't.
There's no love. It's fear.
There, yeah, yeah. There's no value.
Nope.
You see something and it's different from you, you're going to devalue it. You're going to put it on a zero on the number line.
Right. Yeah.
Listen, the zero has value because
The
it's a
zero.
point. Yeah, you could start from that point. Maybe I am the beginning.
Exactly. Zero is a number. Zero
Yes.
is
So
not nothing.
yeah, don't discount me because that's where I am on the number line.
Hmm.
I'm the source.
And I bring value.
Yeah.
And I bring value. It's
Yeah, because
just it's just like anything. It's like what we're doing right now. We are two totally different people that have two different sets of experiences and understandings, but this becomes a great experience for people watching this because we're bringing both of those things together to reach everyone who's all the people that are watching.
exactly.
And the different
Exactly.
perspectives are needed to reach those that are watching and those that have different perspectives.
Exactly. Exactly. So, and the nice thing about doing this, Darius, is that we have different perspectives on certain things, but folks would never ever know that
Right. Because it works together for
for
the
the
whole.
good.
There it is. And we need that. So we need, I need to really, I want to really stress what you were saying though, about this self-concept and self-esteem, right? We cannot continue to allow ourselves to determine who we are based on what's happening outside of us. And you can't be fearful of not being accepted because for the most part, when you have these great, um, let's say what we call great people who've done great things, at some point in time in their life, they were looked at as crazy. They were looked at as weird. They had some kind of mental issue, what have you. I mean, can you imagine the idea of a airplane when you were used to riding in a horse and buggy? If somebody came to you and said, we're going to create this thing that people can get in and fly in the air from one place to another, and the only idea and the only reality that you've had is riding in a horse and buggy. That was your only concept, right? That's all you've experienced. Somebody else comes and says, we're going to get in this thing that flies in the air like a bird. You would think that person is insane. Like that's not going to happen. And instead of embracing that and embracing whatever you bring to the table, because we need people with new ideas and embracing who you are, we don't want to be the crazy person. We don't want to be the outsider. We want to be accepted. We want to be in the cool kids club. We don't want to be that one on the fringes that nobody understands. But that person creates great advancement in who we are as a people. And that's what we need.
Well, I think so. I think so. But talking about the idea of flying, the idea of an airplane, that was in someone's imagination.
Exactly.
It was buried inside of them,
Exactly.
right? And they kind of just coughed it up.
Yep.
It's like, an idea. Maybe it was buried in their DNA, you
Mhm.
know. But it's like, oh, let's imagine this.
Mm. Mhm.
And we've lost the ability, some of us have lost the ability to imagine.
We're taught that that is a childish action. Using your
Oh,
imagination is an act for a child. It's kind of the concept that we're taught. So when
okay,
you
but
go ahead.
go ahead.
Now I was gonna say, so when you become an adult, you're told not to imagine and be curious. Like,
So
beat
that
the
means I
curious.
can't have any fun.
Mm. If your fun is based on you doing childish things, no.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to do things that are childlike, and there's a difference
Right.
between childlike and childish.
Yeah. How about that? Yeah. We don't encourage curiosity. We don't encourage the imagination because this is how we do things. So we've all heard, everybody's heard, this is not how we do things around here. Right. I remember when I was working a job, working for someone else, and I came up with a new idea that I thought would maybe change kind of how things work and maybe even be more productive. They was like, oh no, Darius, that's not how we do things. That's not how we've always done things. So we got to still play into the role that's always been how things are done. So that discourages creativity, it discourages imagination, and it discourages curiosity. Those
So,
are those are the things that create amazing people and amazing creations. But we're taught not to do that because this is not how we do things.
yeah,
Stay
well, I
in
was always,
lines.
yeah, no, I go in the office, close my door, and do what I do. That's how
That's
I
what
get
you
in
do.
trouble. That's how I
Right.
used to get in trouble all the time. It's like, what's she doing in there? When's she gonna come out?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I open the door, voila, it's done.
Right. But I
Yeah.
mean, so here again goes to that self-concept over self-esteem. It's our concept, our mental concept of who we are is based on all of these, let's say, teachings that we've received since birth. And we're taught that this is what you do when you're in this age group. This is what you do when you get to this age group. And they don't overlap. So stop acting like a child and stop living in this fantasy world and live in the real world, which really is not real.
Exactly. So what I hear you saying is that we're conditioned to operate based upon a bunch of shoulds.
Yes.
You should do this. You should do that. My grandmother said this. My grandfather said this. Some of the stuff I listen to.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not totally rebellious. But what the word should does is it takes away the opportunity for the universe to fulfill itself
Mm,
in you.
yes. Wow. And wow. So we operate off that, but this is what happens and how people we don't think about it to that level because we're conditioned and it's so deeply ingrained that we don't even think about it. We just think that that's how it should be.
Should. Yeah.
It's how it should be.
Yeah. Denise, you should do this. It's like God didn't tell me to do that. We've been talking.
Right. Right. Right.
The sacred part of me inside of me.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I don't, yeah. Oh, he should do this. He's not doing what he's supposed to do. Oh,
Mhm.
supposed to do.
Supposed to do.
Supposed to
Yeah.
and should.
Yeah. You're
How
supposed
do
to do
you
this.
know what that individual is supposed to do?
Right.
And we're so conditioned to impose those shoulds and supposed tos onto other people that we get caught up in it. It's just natural
Yeah.
for us to do. And
So
it's
now,
like, watch yourself. I do it sometimes. I catch myself doing it.
mhm.
It's like, let me shut my mouth and mind my own business.
Yeah, because it's deep. We got to be conscious of it. See, you got to be conscious that that's even happening because it's something that has been ingrained for so many years. It's so deep rooted within us that we still have to catch. I still have to catch myself. But here's the other thing. So let's talk about a little biology and neuroscience a little bit. So
Oh,
we have a part of our brain called the reticular activating system, right? The way I look at this, or what they call it the RAS sometimes, the way I look at it and how it operates, it's like a force field on your brain. It's like a force field. And you program it. It's basically programmed to look for certain things that are happening outside of us. And if it's part of the programming, it'll let that stuff in. If it's not part of the programming, it will reject it. So basically, it won't even bring it to your attention, your consciousness. And so all of these things. So what happens is all of these things that we've been talking about, how we've been educated, how we've been what I always say programmed, but how we've been taught this whole concept of the self concept and self esteem. So we build this idea of who we supposed to be, who we should be. We're programming our ass to say anything outside of what I just developed as who I am, we need to ignore. So, who
yep,
we
it's right.
really are, the self-esteem within us, the ideas and the concepts that come from within, all of the things outside of us that can lend to us developing those things and being able to share those things and being able to understand what's happening. And everything outside of us is being blocked. We're biologically doing this to ourselves. It's being blocked because we have programmed our RAS to say all of these things that don't match who we say we are, ignore.
Wow, that's deep.
So it's like we have blinders on and we're looking for this specific stuff that match what we said we are, not who we really are. So if we open up the scope of really who we are, we really start to look for confirmation on these things that are bubbling inside of us. We reprogram that part of our brain to increase what is let in and change what's let in. Then we can develop and we can become the people that we were designed to be. So we're doing it to ourselves. So we start to block ourselves. Our brain is phenomenal in what it can do. we don't even realize it because it's not like if we sit down and say, all right, we're going to block this idea, we're going to block this person, we're going to block this thought, we're going to block me seeing this sign or billboard that may spark some kind of ingenuity within us. We don't say that, but with the thinking that we have, we're ultimately doing that unconsciously.
Okay. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. All right. So now, what I think I hear you saying, and I'm going to use my words, right?
Right.
Is that we have been conditioned to look outside of ourselves for us.
Exactly.
And that is how we can never find ourselves.
Because
we don't know who we be, right?
Right.
So now here we go again. This whole script, it's been reversed, it's turned upside down, right?
Uh-huh.
So the goal is to be able to dig deep inside of you, know who you are, know your true preferences, like playing the banjo, and so on and so forth. And when you go out into the external world, you are going to be attracting those things that confirm your being.
Exactly. It's the true law of attraction.
That's ancient. That ain't nothing new.
It's
ancient.
Not. It is. It's ancient, and this is how we used to operate.
Oh boy, dig in your heels, folks.
We're gonna dig in. We're gonna dig up all this old stuff. See, we're digging up all this old stuff.
Yeah, remember we talked about it last time, and some people call it New Age stuff.
No.
I
this is
remember
original stuff.
Beautiful book about Abraham and Abraham's law of attraction, and I said, my, right? And so I started not allowing certain debris into my spiritual realm, into my spiritual space. It's like, you're not coming in my backyard and pooping.
Right.
You know, get out.
Right. And so we gotta become conscious. We gotta become aware of all of this that's swirling around us. Right. And here's what's interesting too. And this is just, you know, my how I see things. We have what I call input peripherals. All of our senses are input peripherals. So taste, taste, touch, smell, sight, hearing, those are all inputs. Those are all things, receptors that bring in stuff from outside. But because they're all input, we typically give them more power, or we depend on those more than what's inside of us. So what's innately inside of us, we kind of suppress because we got all of this sensory overload that's coming in, and we're starting to believe that this is what we should be, as opposed to what's bubbling up in our solar plexus, why we get the butterflies, and why we feel, you know, our stomach is upset and all these things, and we're not in our right flow or energy level. So we take all this stuff in because these are all input peripherals. So we're taking in millions and millions and millions and trillions of just concepts all day. All these things we're taking in. And that's how we're being conditioned. And as opposed to using those things to build up what's happening inside of us and who we are, that's what I believe it's initially for. It's for us to be able to take those things outside of us and use it to build up who is inside of us.
Yeah, but only those things that are a part of who we are. and we
Exactly.
don't know, we're not familiar. So I but Darius, it's not just the bubbling up in the stomach and
Hmm.
all that gastrointestinal stuff. I went through this period where there were certain people that I was around and in certain situations where I itched like crazy. I would get the hives, and
Yes.
and my doctor said, Denise, you're allergic to yourself.
Mm-mm. Nope. No,
And
you were.
I thought about it and I said, oh no, I'm allergic to the spirit that I'm around, the mindset, the belief system.
The
And it's like,
frequency was off.
thank you. And I can't take any more Benadryl.
The frequency is off. The energy
But,
level is off.
but when I figured that out, because it's like, there's nothing wrong with me.
Right.
What is it? I started listening to myself and started paying attention. It's like, I was curious. It's like, wait a minute, why am I itching? I itched the last time I was in this person's presence.
Mm. Mm.
The last time I was here, I itched like this. I used to go to work sometimes and itch.
Mm-hmm.
Something terrible.
Well,
But
you itch. Somebody else might get a headache. Somebody else it may be whatever. How it manifests within you may be different. So I don't want you all looking at
thank you.
watching this thinking that you're going to be itching. It may manifest itself different. But when you are not in the right space, you're not in the right on the right frequency, and those around you don't have the right frequency, your body will have a visceral effect.
Or frequency that jives with your frequency.
Exactly.
Because somebody could take you out, Darius, if you're around a bunch of people that have low vibrations,
Yes.
negative thoughts, putting everybody and everything down. What happens? The news does that to me. It
All the time.
lowers my vibration because it's full of fear mongering. What should
Yep.
be what so and so happened? What should we be worried about? It's like
Here
I
is
ain't
where
worried about none of this crap.
none of it, because it's all made up.
Yeah,
It's all
it
made
ain't
up.
none of my business.
But
I
here,
am my business.
exactly. But here's what people do. Here's what we do when we're in that situation, and it depends on how we think and what are these beliefs that we have, right? What are this goes back to this self concept. See, it all comes back to this. If I believe that this is how things really and truly are, then I have to force myself to adapt to that. And I have to suppress the feeling that my body is giving me. So when I
Exactly.
watch the news or I'm in the space with these people who have low vibrations and they're negative, and I either have to adapt by ignoring what's happening inside of me, adapt so I can fit in with that, or I have to leave. I have to change the station. I have to change the channel. I have to change my environment. I have to change my circle of friends that I'm around. One of those two things has to happen. I'm either going to have to adapt to that, or you're going to have to leave.
Right. And when you adapt to it, you lose who you really be.
That's that part right there.
All right. But knowing that, it's like, wait a minute. Why do I always feel so exhausted after spending time doing so and so and so or being around? It's like, nah, I'm not comfortable. Recognizing it
Yep.
and then moving on it, doing something about it. It's okay to say, I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable. I need to go home.
It's okay. We need to operate as if it's okay. But we have to pay attention. We have to pay attention and have to be conscious about those feelings that you're having, and really take time to um, explore it. Like, why? Like, you asked the perfect question. Like, when you were talking about you were itching and getting highs, you got to ask the question, why do I continue to break out when I'm in this particular space?
Yeah. I went to the
Why?
doctor and I went outside of me and he gave me some gobbledygook. It would
Yep.
make me feel worse about myself.
Yes. Because they treating the symptom.
And I said, I'm not allergic to myself. I like me. It's some, so I had to go inside. But now this is the rub.
Mm.
Okay, Garrett, how long have we been talking?
Oh no, keep going. We're gonna wrap up soon.
Oh, okay. So this is the rub for me. To be mindful of what's going on inside of you, to be mindful of your own personal experience.
Yes.
Oftentimes is oftentimes it gets hijacked
Oh, yes.
by all of the external noise around us. External noise. And I'm going to say this from our parents, from
Mm-hmm.
our relatives,
Mm-hmm.
from school peers, from the media, right? From culture, you know, and from the worldview of the dominant culture. It's noisy.
Yep. It's
And
intentionally noisy.
thank you.
It's intentional because they don't want you to become who you were created to be. They don't want you to know who you be.
Yeah, and we
So,
get conditioned.
yes.
We become conditioned to seek that stimuli. Always
Yes.
gotta have on the
It's a
TV, gotta
it's
have on the
addictive.
radio. Yeah.
It's addictive behavior. And that's what we're taught. We're just given all of these addictive behaviors that we should have, from what we eat to what we read, listen to, watch on TV, everything. It's based on an addictive behavior that is designed to keep us from being able to listen to what's being said within. Part of the reason so many people came out of the whole lockdown over the pandemic, this COVID thing, depressed, because we don't have the capability, we haven't been able to build the strength and the capability of listening to what's happening inside of us. We need all that outside stimulus that's distracting, that is
Yeah.
noise.
Yeah.
So here's what I want to encourage people to do, Denise, because we can keep going on and on and on. I want
Oh
to
Lord.
encourage, I want to encourage all of you to just take some time and ask yourself why, right? I want to provoke this thought. Why do you believe what you believe? Why do you think the way you think? Why do you feel the way you feel about yourself? Not about anything else, about yourself. Why? And then take some time and just listen to what's happening within, what's being said within you. You know, what it is that really, and I say this all the time, but what it is that really lights you up. Because I think that thing that we were given, that gift we were given, whenever we touch it, whenever we get close to it, it just lights us up. It just makes us feel good. That we get that shot of dopamine, and it just makes us feel good. So pay attention, find out what that is. That's, I just want to encourage people to do that as we wrap up today for this
That's
episode.
right. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. So let your light shine. Find it. Don't let it be a rush light though, because those go on and off. You gotta find your light, right? and keep fueling it so that it burns, it shines forever. You don't want it blinking in and off, on and off. No power shortage.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
And always remember, with that concept that Denise just shared, darkness never gets rid of light. The light gets rid of the darkness. So be phenomenal, guys. Like the video. If we gave you something that you really,
All right.
you
I'm all
really got
talked out,
something out
bro.
of, yeah. So like the video, comment. We will be looking at comments. We're gonna look at that, and we're gonna incorporate those in the future shows that we do. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified. Make sure you hit the little bell to notify so you can be notified as we put out new episodes. But guys, we love you. You are phenomenal. Dr. Denise, anything you want to share before we wrap this thing up?
My usual, Ashe. The
Ashe.
divine in me honors the divine in you. I'm out.
Ashe, you are phenomenal.
All right.